Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you all so much for joining today. It's so nice to see you all. It's today's the 26th of Feb. I felt like I had enough data to kind of give you an update early, because I'd normally kind of do this um, on like the first of the month or something like that, or a day or two before that. Um, so I'm ready to kind of just give you an update. Um, so I'm gonna do a little bit of housekeeping. It's gonna be March next month. And we're already, I mean, we've hit the ground running this year, so there's so much kind of going on, and it does kind of tie back into the previous months that I've been kind of reviewing. I mean, it always does really, but now we've got a specific storyline as to where kind of things are updating and what's really kind of going on. So, um, just touching base, I'm going to do a self-care Monday on the 3rd of March at 6 p.m. UK time. Um, the next thing is I do have the talk, the Q&A, the meditation, the Healer's Circle under the Aurora Host now. So everything that I'm doing as kind of like a group basis is under the Aurora Host program, which is a subscription on my website. You don't need to sign up to any of the kind of events or use it. You just have to kind of go on the web page, the Aurora Host. After you kind of sign up, I'll give you a password where you can go on and get the what's it called? Get the kind of Zoom details as to when the events are going to be. They are actually kind of plastered on the web page already. But the first month has been fantastic, and I'm so grateful to everyone for joining. Um, and this is my way of trying to go into service work. So if I can kind of if I can get enough subscribers on that, it means I can put my prices down on my one-to-ones. And ideally, what I want to do is go on a donation base on the one-to-ones. This is the kind of the extended plan. Just got to kind of get there really and just sort of lay it out the way that I can to be able to do that. But at the moment, it's not quite there yet because it's only been 1 month. And yeah, so we're getting there slowly but surely. And you're all welcome to come. So yeah, so we've got the Aurora Host, which has 4 meetings per month. The Self Care Monday on the 3rd, and now I'm also going to be away from the 14th to the 21st at the Azurite retreat, which is the first retreat we're hosting. And in this one, we've got a retreat on the 14th to the 16th of March. We've got 2 beds left for that. So if there were 2 of you, the price would be cut in half. So it would be like 600 each for that weekend. And then if you wanted to stay for an extra couple of days as well, that's also now on the cards too. And that is at a reduced price of 400 per head. And that is, I think it's the 17th. So we finish on the 16th and the 17th to the 19th. So yeah, if you are interested, just drop me an email. All my details are on the webpage at felixhyde.com, www.felixhyde.com. And yeah, it will be lovely, 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 lovely to have you there. I think we're going to have some more coming towards the back end of the year. So yeah, it's exciting times. Ready for a whole lot of expansion as well, and playing with a lot of creative flow at the moment. So yeah, really trying to kind of push myself out the box in what I'm kind of doing. Because I was getting a bit kind of bored with the mundane, or not really mundane because it never is, but just the same old cycles and patterns that have been kind of coming in and out. And I think quite a lot of other people are ready for a change. And this will be in relation to the jumping of templates as we go from the personality into the soul. The whole personality structure kind of changes to kind of accommodate that soul need. And that driving force of the soul is where we're really kind of embodying at the moment and creating the pathway that is right for our fifth dimensional resonance. So there's a whole big ascending shift around your identity, which is, I mean, kind of like the story of our lives, really. But in this case, we're like at that place where we are changing and trying to put the building blocks in place for the new personality, the new or the true identity to come into play, so we can operate from there rather than a resonance that is out of whack and out of alignment for us now. So yeah, it's an interesting time, very, very interesting time for self-exploration and change, really. Okay, so let me get my notes. Where are they? Okay, so where we were with this Ruby Templar situation, we've had quite a lot of shift around the Ruby Templar in end of December to January, which basically saw the reconstruction of the Ruby Sun DNA, which is the Ruby root chakra architecture. So all of this information has gone through a rapid recalibration. Now, this ray touches base into it touches base into multiple different fields, but it predominantly recalibrates the masculine architecture and scales that up through the dimensional field. So the root ray was one place that was heavily, heavily, heavily corrupted by fear-based machinery, propaganda, programs, etc., that was designed to overthrow the consciousness into a state of kind of fear-based living, right? So where we have where we had the shift occurring around the root, this gradually started to make its way up to the seventh dimensional field towards the end of January, beginning of February. And this is where I'm kind of just starting off my my story, I suppose, or what I've been kind of experiencing, which isn't just me that's experiencing this, because there are many Ruby Suns, and we all hold a divine masculine counterpart within us, as well as a divine feminine. So where we've kind of worked our way up to the seventh dimensional field, the history held within the seventh dimensional field is quite torrid. And this has been really where we've been taken to rehabilitate at the beginning of Feb. Now, the seventh dimensional field runs a violet ray spectrum. It correlates to the future Earth cycle of Gaia. And within the future Earth cycle of Gaia, which down here we can read it as a past perspective, but actually it's a future one, which I don't really understand. But that's a different story for a different time until I kind of figure it out. So as we kind of work through this future Earth timeline, the history or the future of the electric wars was very, very, very highlighted within the beginning of this month, of the beginning of February. And I'm saying this because it's significant for the whole process of what we've been kind of like working out is particularly with the Ruby order, the Ruby Sun timelines, is the rehabilitation of artificial machinery. It's the rehabilitation of mind control, structures that kind of sap your energy, sap your power, and it's also tied into the artificial base 10 architecture that presents as the artificial tree of life or the Kabbalistic tree. So this is significant because this alien structure has been the thing that has been drawing upon our energy in order to power up the negative uh, the negative forces, really. When we're saying that, we're looking at like the Wiesen matrix, we're looking at the reptilian, we're looking at the Anunnaki structures that are kind of banded together in order to kind of attempt to overthrow us, or us being the light workers or the star seeds, or just the Christic service to others races. These these beings don't like us. They never have, and they've always wanted to kind of hold dominion over parts of the universe, particularly the Earth realms where angelic seedings were taking place. Angelic human Christic seedings were taking place, so the birth of Christic Christ families. So in order to kind of kick this off, I suppose we're going to go back a little bit more in history or forward, depends on how you look at it, to the eighth dimension, the eighth gate, and the Orion Wars, which was the initial point before the Electric Wars kicked off. So during this Orion War, from what I understand, is there was an invasion by the Wiesen races that came in from a different universe and basically hijacked the eighth gate, which is the Orion Gate. And they basically kind of set up shop in that location. And through this, it gave them access into the galactic core or the metagalactic core. And this location is the hub point of the source consciousness. So it kind of comes in and then funnels out into different realms, different locations to kind of feed the systems. And I'm not fully concrete as to how that works yet. I'm still kind of trying to process it and trying to understand the channels, how the channels work with that. But this location basically held something called the universal rod principle. So the universal solar rod it was the overarching architecture that governs all of the rod principles throughout our universal time matrix. So that goes into the solar, we've got the solar rod, we've got the planetary rod, and we've got the the solar, the universal, and the planetary. Okay, so these all get affected by this one hub point, which is the galactic core. Now, the rod principle, what the rod does is it governs the mental body function. And the mental body function is the masculine consciousness. The staff is the feminine principle, or the staff principle is the feminine consciousness, and it is a vertical connection to source, whereas this is a linear, horizontal, masculine connection. So when that is kind of corrupted, it overthrows all of the way that we think, all of the different functions of the mental body in attempt to kind of bring down the masculine consciousness. Now, this is quite significant. And I'll tell you why if I can remember. Trying to kind of pull things out, but I keep on kind of phasing in and out at the moment. So where we've got the eighth dimensional solar rod, this location through the Orion Wars was taken over and intercepted with the Weazen Beast machine, basically, this artificial alien machinery, which kind of, I think it kind of inverts the magnetic field, and it also ended up, as it kind of was drawn down, it tilted the planet's axis off balance. So when our axis was pointing towards the metagalactic core, it was then shifted to the star Thuban in Orion, which effectively what it does is kind of starts to draw the frequency into that. We don't receive the frequency that we're needing from the metagalactic core. And it basically scrambled a whole load of the frequencies and caused a whole pile of chaos. Now, I'm saying this because it's important, because the next phase of this war was taken down onto oh, that's it. The other thing is, in the metagalactic core, it held the matrix of the planet Gaia, which is the seventh dimensional future Earth as well, where we kind of unify. So it scrambles everything. It scrambles so many different things. And this was the invasion point of Gaia, which basically scrambled, and there was a kind of mass holocaust of the Hyperborean races that resided on Gaia. They were split apart from their counterparts of the Polarians, and created loads of separation, loads of destruction. And through this, now going into the Electric Wars, this war that took place over about 900 years was then brought in where the beast was kind of funneled down through the dimensional layers, and it ripped through through time and kind of anchored into our planet down here, 3D Earth, that we live on, that we reside on, and basically kind of imprinted the artificial tree of life into all of these different kind of zones and locations, and effectively scrambled the organic 12 tree grid that we would normally run off, which is a self-sustaining morphogenetic field where we can recirculate organic source life force. The one that they imprinted upon us was a 10 tree grid, which caps off the 8th chakra, or the 8th sphere, and it caps out the 12th. So the 12th being the divine blueprint, the 8th being the metagalactic core, or the kind of permanent seed atom, which is the instruction set for Christ consciousness, which I spoke about last year because there was a big activation of that going on. This artificial tree of life that was kind of imprinted or kind of patched into our Earth structure, basically started to close a bunch of loops to recycle traumatizing energy back down through our energy systems of the planet and the consciousness grids, and draw upon the information of the consciousness grids back in to feed these negative systems, these negative structures. And ultimately, this has been very detrimental. It's impacted so many layers of our consciousness and of our ability to think, our ability to function, and our ability to hold kind of a level of sovereignty. Well, this has all gone the other direction. It's all gone in a very positive momentum, a positive breakthrough. It's taken a hell of a lot to work through to actually get it even remotely kind of squared or conscious in my mind. It's because there is so much scrambling within there. And this fundamentally, we're at a place where we are excelling forwards and through this. Now, it's important that I had to kind of raise that at the start, because this is going to take us into the next point. So we've had this Electric Wars, which is tied into our Earth body and effectively almost blew apart our Earth once a very long time ago, which is tied into the Hyperborean Holocaust. But it's also, and that's up there. And then when we are down here, it's tied into the ancient Greek story of the Titans. So these are our reference points as to the timelines down here and up there. Okay, so when we've got that history kind of making sense, the next part of this, which is really kind of fundamental and important, is understanding the Amethyst Order's families and Ezekiel the Solar Dragon, who was captured but released in 2022. Ezekiel's consciousness body is the universal solar rod. And he was basically held in at the metagalactic core, to which, when the beast was put in, it scrambled his body and effectively scrambled all of the rod functions and the rod principles over many, many, many years. It's important to understand that his solar rod principle, his solar dragon, solar rod body, connects to every other solar dragon or solar dragon king. And it also connects to the entire masculine consciousness as well. So where that was kind of taken, scrambled, and kind of distorted, this scrambled a whole load of things for other solar dragons and for a lot of our rehabilitation of the Earth. It's been through February where I've seen the rehabilitation of this information brought up to the surface, recoded and rewired and addressed, to then rehabilitate the seventh dimensional rod, the solar rod, and the month before we've worked into the ruby rod. So we're going through all of these different rod functions in order to rehabilitate and re-embody the Holy Father principle. So, like I said, all of these rod functions are connected to the masculine. They went through a heavy distortion and became very scrambled and messy, let's say. And now we're in the place where the true noble masculine is coming in to reconstruct the whole masculine structure, which is humongous. I cannot even put to words the emotions that I've been feeling about how big this is. It's absolutely humongous. Because this basically creates the space for the rehabilitation and the realignment, the hierogamic realignment of the Divine Mother, Divine Feminine consciousness, the Solar Dragon Queens, to come back into their throne point with their masculine counterpart, where they potentially held a bit of distortion before. And certainly down here, we've all been working to try and get this corrected. This is then bringing this all back into alignment. So it's triggered loads of healing through the feminine as well. Okay, so I'm gonna have some of my tea. Okay, so where we've got Ezekiel the Solar Dragon, that is the universal rod principle. We've got the rehabilitation of the masculine consciousness. We've got the rehabilitation of the Electric Wars timelines, which has then worked to reconstruct and recode the artificial tree of life, alien machinery, beast machine that's also kind of in place within the metagalactic core, to break it down, delineate, and seal out. Now, I'm not saying that that's all going to be done and dusted through this month. There's been a big update and a big shift around this in order to push this to reclaim our bodies, to reclaim our sovereignty around this, where it had been quite rudely taken from us, and where we had kind of digressed because of that. We've been given an accelerant point to jump from A to B very quickly. Okay, so Ezekiel, the Solar Dragon King, he was the, or is the guardian and the father of the Amethyst Order. He is the guardian of the Hyperborean families that oversaw, and the guardian of Gaia, basically. He was trapped up within this machinery that had caused a whole load of distortions and scrambled a whole lot of the things, which ended up kind of killing the Hyperboreans, which massively damaged the solar rod. The whole beast machine architecture came in and basically killed all the Hyperboreans. Sorry, and rapidly damaged his solar rod and solar body, which was then reiterated down as there was a connection from the seventh dimensional Earth to the third dimensional Earth. This, now I'm jumping forwards in time a little bit. Basically, he ended up incarnating down on Earth, to which he played the role as Ezekiel the Prophet. Now, you can read up on this on Ascension Glossary or on Syra Salmon's website, www.syrasalmon.com. You can find it in one of my previous videos, because she's been amazing at helping me kind of piece this together whilst I'm trying to process the emotion, process the trauma behind it, and kind of work it out from that way. Because these things, when you kind of work through these levels, is you're trying to kind of unscramble the scrambled and rehabilitate it in order to kind of repair the morphogenetic fields of it, and get the memories back into its corrected order, so it can make sense. It can be made sense of. And this is how you kind of start to put your essence back together, put your memories back together, and then you can draw upon the memories as a resource for reference as you're doing healing with other people, or healing with yourself, or or working through the planetary grids, etc. So, really hot. So, as I was saying about whatever I was saying about, the link, he became the prophet Ezekiel and incarnated onto Earth at probably around the Babylonian era, I reckon, and ultimately ended up dying. And his bones were harvested and basically held within a tomb that was upon the Golden Eagle grid. Now, the Golden Eagle grid is the Seraphite consciousness. It is heavily disrupted by Draco energies, which effectively they kept his bones there as a kind of torture to his dragon form, to his spiritual body. And through many years, there have been lots of wars there that have been reproducing the trauma upon that body. Now, in 2022, he was released from the tomb, from the Golden Eagle grid, and his body started to come back into alignment. However, there was a big load of trauma that is still trying to be worked out within that. But the important part was, in 2022, his body was released, and this aided in the principle for where we're kind of coming to this month. So when that body was released 3 years ago now, we've got this surge of rehabilitation of his consciousness, the repairing and healing of his consciousness within the Amethyst Order, and the masculine, Holy Father, noble masculine mindset that has to be kind of healed. Now, it's important to kind of understand this backlog, because the Amethyst Order has been paramount this month for healing. The Amethyst Order came in January, which they basically, it's hard to explain. I mentioned it in my last video. At the start of the month, he, not he, sorry, King Arthur, the solar dragon King Arthur, was awoken from stasis and placed into the Albion light body. And this is his kind of place that had to kind of, this is the place where he kind of sits and powers up with his Hirogamic partner, Queen Guinevere. So the key to waking him up and placing him into the location, number one, was receiving Ezekiel out of the grid in 2022. It was the rehabilitation of the Ruby Templar, or the Ruby Templar coming in to rehabilitate the reptilian consciousness and all of the machinery. So all of the rod principles had to be rehabilitated in order to get him back into his throne. And then it was the Amethyst Order that came in to awaken and place in the throne as the seating. So there is reason why I'm kind of saying all of these things, because this power up point is massive. It's so big that I haven't even got my head around it in its entirety either. It's what this does basically is it kind of triggers a whole load of other situations in order to reclaim the sovereignty of our universe, reclaim the sovereignty of our Earth, and also reclaim the sovereignty of our mental bodies. And when there is damage and trauma within the mental body, this is how we get mind controlled. This is how we get manipulated and kind of held in abuse. So this is why it's been a massive first 3 months of the year, or will be 3 months of the year in by the end of March. This is why it's so big, because all of this alien architecture is being dismantled bit by bit, but on an accelerated pathway in order to reclaim what's rightfully ours, what we truly deserve. So, okay, so as all of this has kind of happened within like the first week of February, first and second week of February, this has then gone on to trigger the rehabilitation of the electric wars, the rehabilitation of the rod principles, the rehabilitation of the Holy Father consciousness, the masculine consciousness, in order to kind of hold space, correct, and reformat the structure to accommodate the Hirogamic partnership, which took place around the 22nd of Feb, for the realignment of the divine feminine to sit with the holy masculine, or the noble masculine, which is a work in progress. It's not going to be done this month. We all have to kind of put our two pennies in to kind of make it happen. But we've had a jump, is what I'm trying to say, in not too many words. We've had a jump forwards in order to rehabilitate the Hirogamic fields, or the Hirogamic joins between the rod and the staff. So what that has done through all of this rehabilitation of the masculine consciousness is it's given us a massive open space to unconditionally love, repair any kind of betrayal, any kind of issues with the feminine, and then also review and understand the feminine consciousness in order so they get a kind of space of safety together where there is a bridge of trust. And this is in order to kind of what this basically does is it rebalances the staff and rod coding. And we've all got one within our own light structure, but there's also a planetary one, there's a universal one, there's a solar one. And this is the Hirogamic union, which had been capped off for many, many, many years, to come back into alignment. So yeah, that's probably been the really big things that have come up um, over this month. The next thing that's also happened as well is kind of phased in and out intermittently because this is going to be a bit further out. So we're looking more so in the cosmic layers of the field, or the structure, the cosmic layers of the structure, where we've had um, a realignment. I think this has actually happened a bit further ago. It feels like it happened a while ago, and has intermittently been kind of gathering momentum. I'm just being told now that this was to do with the Divine Mother Eliza coming into um, the awareness. So we're talking probably about like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Again, there's gradually been a progressional rehabilitation and an opening of the Divine Mother, the Cosmic Mother field, the Elasian grids, um, moving into the forefront to harmonize with the Cosmic Father um, grids and create a what would be like a kind of hierogamic merge. So when I'm saying this has been over like a kind of progression of a couple of years. And when I kind of saw this information, what I kind of understood with it was with the mother kind of coming back online, we've had the father consciousness that has been able to kind of synchronize up with her. Still recording, thank God. I wouldn't be able to like do this again if you ask me. We've had the synchronization and the partnering up with her beloved, which has then created a bridge point. We'll call it. Yeah, it's like a kind of white rainbow bridge that secures into the Rishik levels of our structure. So 13th to 15th levels of our structure, which has then bridged the Rishi Resha consciousness in its divine partnership, which is then sent down through our dimensional layers, basically partnering up the masculine, feminine layers within our own individualized system, but also planetary and universal layers. Okay, so when I was kind of shown that, this is the part that I'm a little bit confused about, because this actually went on to build a temple. It went on to build a sacred twin flame temple or a hierogamic temple. And what that did was starting to categorize and reorder masculine and feminine consciousness into the corrected universe within what's called a Vecca quadrant. So we've got within this Vecca quadrant, we've got a 12 tree grid down here, we've got a 12 tree grid up here, and then we've got a 12 tree grid either side. The bottom one is our one, the right side one is the parallel Earth or the parallel universe one, and then we've got a higher heaven that corresponds to our universe on the left side, and then the one above, we've got a parallel higher heaven that corresponds to the one on the right side. So when we've got that system there, right in the center, we've got a Templar that creates a format. That formatting, what I've kind of interpreted with it is that it corresponds into 12 clock points in which 12 solar dragons can sit. This then placed a reordering of masculine and feminine consciousness that gets ordered down into the parallel, our universe, which is a particle-based mother frequency, a divine feminine structure, the parallel universe would be the masculine counterpart to this. So we've got a feminine and a masculine, a higher heaven, a higher heaven. And when this started to reorder the masculine and feminine consciousness, and I don't mean that this means that the men are just going to go puff and turn up in a parallel universe. No. It's just the ordering of the consciousness back into its corrected locations, which then ultimately gradually go through a merge point and interface at this cosmic clock location. And it was here where I saw the rise of the solar dragon queens taking place with their beloved solar dragon king, which reorganizes the balance layers between masculine, feminine polarities and counterparts, and then the birth point of solar Christ Michael. And I'm telling you this like completely fresh. This is what I've been receiving. Doesn't necessarily mean I understand it because it is quite abstract. It's quite confusing, but it's gradually kind of making more and more sense as the weeks go by. So we've got this correction to the gender twin matrix that's coming through with this reorientation of herogamic partnership between the solar dragon kings, solar dragon queens at this cosmic clock through the 12 timelines, the 12 dimensions, 12 timelines, because there's 12 points on the clock, 12 points on a Templar, which is then being recoded down into the gate system. That is new information that I didn't know. Thank you very much. So we've got a whole big rehabilitation of the herogamic partnerships, gender twin matrix, which syncs back up to the Temple of the Kemalohatea, which is the creation point of the blue flame, amethyst flame, pale gold flame, or aquamarine flame, sorry, rather than the blue. And that would be the kind of founder rays consciousness, which then gets kind of reissued downstream. This is basically like the kind of correction points in order for this to move down. So the Rishik families, the Emerald Order families are all kind of coming down to take their throne in the earth. I hope I haven't confused you all. I feel a bit confused myself. But I also feel like I've relayed the message the best that I can. And just for reference as well, some people have asked me how I kind of get my information. Predominantly, I would say probably about 80% of it is through channeling. Then I get guided to look at, I either go and speak to my friend Syra, or I find myself on a website being pulled to the specific information. A lot of that would then be kind of referred back to within the glossary, Ascension Glossary, which has been a real kind of massive, massive help point for me to kind of piece a lot of the things that go on in my mind, a lot of things that come into my awareness together, that have come through channeling. So the most of my day is I'm sat at my desk downloading information and then kind of trying to put it into a structure and an order to understand it. So it's probably about 10% I'll speak to Syra, 10% or maybe 5%, 10% I'll be on the glossary, but the bulk of this is I am meditating and downloading and trying to piece it together. And yeah, that's it. This is kind of what I've been doing for 7 years now. It doesn't happen all in one go. You do get advances with your spiritual gifts as you kind of stay persistent and stay locked into it. And that's the kind of beauty of it, is the divine meet you halfway. And if you're really not getting something, you can make damn sure that they'll put something so far in your nose that you cannot not see it, um, until you get it, and they'll make it very loud and very clear. So with that, it's brilliant because you don't really miss out. It's just when you question it and judge it. And sometimes, like with this situation today, I don't have the full information. I don't know what the full information is. I can only give you what I've got so far. But I feel like I've kind of got the bulk of it. It feels like I'm understanding probably about 70 to 80% of it properly. And the rest of it is kind of either it's not time, or there needs to be something unlocked to get in a little bit deeper, or there needs to be some kind of deep purging through myself in order to allow the information to come to the forefront. Because a lot of the time it can be that we've just got a lot of emotion kind of circulating through our energy system that's inhibiting our ability to kind of read the fields. But now we're in a space where it's kind of really shifting, and we're really getting the good intel because it's the right time. Okay. So I'm going to love you and leave you all. I would love to see you at Self Care Monday. I would love to see you at the Aurora Host meetings. That would be great. Um, the more I can go into service, the better. It's just what I really want to do. I really want to be of assistance and helping. And then we've also got the As You Right retreats. If you do like the content I'm producing out, please give us a thumbs up and a subscribe, because I love to kind of do this. I love to connect with you guys as well. I'm not that great at social media, if I'm honest. I've never have been. I never really liked it. And that's a different story for a different time, I think, which I'm more than happy to get into, because it was very healing. The whole, well, it has been a big process of healing anyway, kind of coming off it. But yeah, I'm more being pushed back on it at the moment to kind of connect with people. But yeah. So you have a lovely March. Have a great equinox, and let's see what the month brings. Loads of love, everyone. Bye bye.